January 6th, 2021. As during many evenings, I watched the news. It showed the voting of the new US president by the electors in the US Capitol. The Capitol was a sunny island of democracy and a wild sea of protesters which believed the election to be fake because Trump had twittered so, back when he could Twitter. But then, just 1 hour later, I got the shocking news. They'd gotten into the Capitol. They'd stormed it because they blindly believed what Trump had said without thoroughly considering his arguments. But how could this have happened? I believe that such events are triggered by conspiracy theories and organizations such as QAnon, or in my home country, the so-called iceberger. Around the world, people are increasingly mixing up fairy tales with reality. Around the world, people are more likely to believe comments on social media than scientific papers which have been reviewed numerous times. Professional journalism is no longer what many of us rely on. Obviously, this needs to change, and it needs to change early on, that is, at schools. I think that there should be more political controversy and more political education at schools. When I say politics, I mean the current important decisions that are taken all around the world and the discussion around them. But it also includes the larger processes and goals worldwide. I'm a high school student, and I experienced the lack of controversy several times throughout this past year. For example, there was the US election. I would have liked to discuss it and hear my classmates' opinions on it. And still going on, there's COVID-19. What were the different strategies that governments applied? Who gained or lost power because of it? Asking these questions would have benefited everyone in the community by raising awareness and clearing up potential misconceptions surrounding the topic. So it's obvious that students need more political controversy. Is it? Why do students even need political education and controversy? Because a true democracy only works if its citizens vote based on their own opinion, not the opinion they were influenced by. A true democracy only works if its citizens are politically informed and active. And activism only happens when people firmly know their opinion, which can be hard. At our school, we are sometimes encouraged to think critically, and from time to time, we are even told to take a stance on a topic. Yet, most of the topics that we cover at school are not linked to greater current politics. Yet that is exactly the important part, because outside of school, we are being swayed by conflicting ideas and opinions on politics. And we'll have to take our own solid stance just using the media that reaches us. So we must learn questioning and reconsidering our own opinions at school in a safe environment, such as school. If we are thrown into the rough sea without having learned to swim, we'll drown. But we can learn swimming at pools where there are lifeguards. Now, some of you might say that I'm exaggerating a bit, that the problem hasn't arrived yet. But I can assure you that at this school, there are students which believe that COVID is made up by the Chinese government, or that vaccination is dangerous and better not done. And based on the amount of people at this school, we're trapped in a filter bubble, unquestioning. Imagine how many millions of others there must be across the world with a similar worldview. The thing is that we all need politics, because if we don't learn about it, we'll most likely become inactive citizens without a voice, and without the ability to differentiate between facts and lies. So it's absolutely necessary for all of us to get a political education. Now, It's obvious that we need to bring more politics into the classroom. But how should this problem be solved? Before we discuss a topic, it's important to learn about it. And when I say learning about politics, I don't mean that a Republican teacher will teach the children to be Republican. Learning about politics is that each student builds their own political world map, which then serves as structure for new information to be inserted in. If the larger processes of the past and present are understood, we can comprehend the single decisions that leaders take. To do this, a mandatory world politics class should be established. Only one semester of it would dramatically improve the overall education of students. Once we've built this political world map, we are ready to discuss, predict, and take stance on what is currently happening and what will happen in the future. Discussions could take place during school events, afternoon activities, or even as a designated class. They could be for personal enlightenment or as debates. There would also be more politics introduced to subjects like history or English. This would include reading party platforms and other political texts. And the newfound information will insert back into the political world map that we built before. We'd also learn about the structure of governments and how they came to be. And we'll learn about the internal politics of countries, about which we maybe don't know so much about. That will help us understand their decisions on an international level, but it will also give us a whole new perspective, a more local one than analysis of big worldwide patterns. Our school, ACS, has already done some efforts to point the students' learning in the right direction. For example, there's Middle East history, which provides a good background on what is currently happening in the Middle East politically. Then there's AP Comparative Government, which analyzes the government systems of 6 different countries across the world. But more politics would even be better, because Middle East history is neither offered at most schools, nor is its scope worldwide. And AP Comparative Government only looks at the government systems of countries without analyzing what is currently happening there. So there are still some limitations to the amount of politics in the classroom, but reducing them is always a step in the right direction. Now, parents, I think that you should let your children go. Do you really want them to go through life unquestioning? Because that is dangerous. We have, or will in the very soon future, come in contact with politics, manipulating algorithms, and conspiracy theories. Do you really want that we haven't practiced questioning in a safe environment before we face these challenges? Do you really want us to be mentally sleeping? I'm not a parent, but I wouldn't want that for sure. And students, it might sometimes seem like politics is all about old white men speaking. But really, politics is a non-fiction story and life, with real climaxes and unexpected turns. Once you've discovered the beauty of politics, I'm sure you'll want to discuss how the current story continues. And schools. You could improve by establishing a world politics class or organizing educated discussions, and by weaving more politics into subjects like history or English. Finally, you could also teach us about the internal politics of countries. Only through that, we can prevent communities from blindly believing into untrusted sources and conspiracy theories. Thank you.